Let's continue our discussion about the design and the role of instructional materials for language curriculum development. Okay. So within this topic, we are looking at some key issues, and one of the issues is whether to use course books or some other sources, for example, the use of teacher-created materials or the use of authentic materials. All right. As you know, we have discussed in detail in some of our previous modules about the debates which are going on, which are looking at the usefulness of textbooks. Textbooks could loosely be described as having some content in it and some procedures of using the syllabus. I mean, some guidelines for the teachers how to use or how to teach them. Right. Textbooks are in the form of some published. They are used for commercial purposes, or they are used by by the ministry in the state-run schools, like the Punjab Textbook Boards has got its own books from grade 1 to 9 for teaching English language. Right. So there has been some debates, and there is sort of I kid you not here, there is sort of love-hate relationship between textbooks and its users. Some users, deny the use of textbooks because they think they don't meet the contextual needs of their learners, and therefore they are more in favor of using source books. Drawing materials from internet. For example, there are many websites where you could find materials like BBC. There you can find teaching materials for planning lessons, and there is ESL Cafe, right? So Prabhu is of the view that instead of sticking to textbooks, we should use source books. Like I said before, source books could be, that's basically at the discretion of the teachers themselves. They could draw materials from various sources. So source books come in the form of some conversation books, timed reading, intensive reading, and listening texts where teachers could involve students in interactional and transactional listening and teacher-made materials. The reasons why Prabhu is in favor of using source books as compared to textbooks is they don't meet the needs of the students in a particular context in a specific country. For example, a textbook which has already been designed for you and which contains some content which is not suitable to your learners, so that might become a sort of constraint, and that because you have already paid for the textbook, and that needs to be endured than enjoyed. So that's the reason why Prabhu is in favor of using source books instead of textbooks. Another reason, and the problems which we need to be aware of, the reasons why these authors or researchers reject the use of textbooks is that they might not be giving a systematic coverage of the content and its organization, and there could be exercises which are not properly done for the learners, which are not engaging and motivating, or which could be going against their expectations of language learning. So the reason why experienced teachers reject the notion of using textbooks is because they are much more experienced, because they are aware of the various processes of language curriculum design. I mean, they know the usefulness of the content, what to choose and what not to choose. And they are aware of how to present that content for linguistic input and what formative or summative assessment to be employed. So in brief, we have looked at the reasons why these researchers, reject the idea of using textbooks and why they are in favor of using source books. Source books are in the form of, some digital material. You could, Google out ESL Cafe and find out many valuable sources there for planning lessons and for, maximizing linguistic input in the classroom.